Hey, peace. What's happening, everyone? On our deal with.
Recognize royalty. Recognize royalty. Gotta recognize it. Recognize royalty. Like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty.
I asked ChatGPT, what happened with Black Loyalists that evacuated to the Caribbean? It said when Black Loyalists evacuated at the end of the Revolutionary War, their experiences varied dramatically, depending on where they were sent and whether they were truly free. Although many people associate Black Loyalists with Nova Scotia and later Sierra Leone, a significant number were also taken to the Caribbean. Why were Black Loyalists sent to the Caribbean? The British evacuation scattered Loyalists across the empire. Black evacuees ended up in places like Jamaica, Bahamas, and other British West Indian colonies. Two different groups arrived: free Black Loyalists, those promised liberty, and enslaved Blacks taken by Loyalist masters. These groups had radically different outcomes. Free Black Loyalists in the Caribbean. For those who were genuinely free, legal freedom, but limited rights. Even though Britain had recognized their freedom, Caribbean slave societies were deeply entrenched. Racial hierarchies were rigid. Freedom did not mean equality. Free Blacks often faced movement restrictions, job limitations, special taxes or registration laws, and social suspicion. Freedom existed, but within a system built on slavery. Economic survival. Many free Black Loyalists struggled. Competition for work was intense. White Loyalists often controlled land and resources. Colonial governments rarely prioritized Black refugees. Common occupations, domestic service, skilled trades, carpentry, tailoring, masonry, maritime labor, and small-scale farming, which was rare. Unlike in Nova Scotia, there was no large British resettlement project designed specifically for free Blacks. Enslaved Blacks taken to the Caribbean. For enslaved evacuees, conditions were harsher. No freedom granted. Many Loyalists evacuated with enslaved people. They were treated as property. Revolutionary War service did not automatically free them. Caribbean slavery was often more brutal than mainland slavery. In many cases, individuals who had formerly been free or semi-free during the war were re-enslaved. Documentation mattered, and many Blacks lacked formal proof. The documentation problem. Freedom often depended on paperwork, like the Book of Negroes. If a Black Loyalist lost papers, was never properly registered, or encountered hostile colonial officials, they could be claimed as runaway slaves, sold, or forced into servitude. This created tragic reversals of wartime promises. The Bahamas, a special case. The Bahamas became a major Loyalist destination. Large numbers of white Loyalists, enslaved Blacks, were relocated there. Result: plantation slavery expanded rapidly. Enslaved evacuees were absorbed into slave labor systems. Free Blacks had extremely limited opportunities. Social and political tensions. Free Black Loyalists often occupied an uneasy position. Slaveholding societies feared independent Black populations, revolutionary ideas spreading, maroon alliances, labor competition. Freedom did not erase colonial anxieties. Why didn't Caribbean Blacks later go to Sierra Leone? Unlike Black Loyalists in Nova Scotia, Caribbean Black Loyalists generally were not part of organized crown resettlement schemes, lacked political leverage, and were dispersed in slave economies. The Sierra Leone migration mainly drew from free blacks in Nova Scotia, London's Black Poor, and Jamaican Maroons, later a separate event. The big historical irony. Black Loyalists fought for British liberty promises, yet in the Caribbean, they entered societies built on slavery. Freedom became conditional. Some lost liberty entirely. They escaped American slavery only to confront imperial slavery structures. So as certainly as there were FBA that stayed and fought on the side of the Patriots, fought for the creation of America in the Revolutionary War, as certainly as those FBA patriots existed, there were also FBA loyalists who fled. They fled to West Africa, they fled to the Caribbean, and they paid the price for fleeing. And even though they fled America, they likely still have descendants here. FBA of today are likely descendants of these Black Loyalists who fled their country and ended up in the Caribbean. So again, we have another connection with American slavery and the Caribbean. There's a connection with American slavery outside of America, and this can be found in a large number of places. So there are Caribbean people, there are people in the Caribbean today who are descendants of American slaves, those same loyalists that fled to the Caribbean. There are people in the Caribbean today who have lineage through American slavery, and that cannot be denied. These people exist in Canada, they exist in Britain, they exist in West Africa, and they exist in the Caribbean. Descendants of American slavery, or people whose ancestors endured American slavery. And so when we talk about the case for reparations, whether these ancestors were loyalists or not, their claim has to be considered as well, or at least put forward. And loyalists or not, they were fighting for their freedom. They indeed fled to the British lines, but they were fleeing for their freedom. And so when we talk about reparations, being loyalists should not disqualify them from reparations. Being loyalists should not disqualify their ancestors or their descendants from reparations because they were fighting for their freedom, even as loyalists. Their fight as loyalists was a fight against their enslavement. So I don't see how that should disqualify them from their reparations claim, or, it shouldn't disqualify them from their reparations claim. Nor should it disqualify their descendants who may live in the Caribbean today, because they too are descendants of American slaves. But anyway, that's all I want to talk about for this video. I hope you liked the video. If you liked the video, like the video. Hit that like button. If you don't like the video, tell us why you don't like the video by leaving a comment. Either way, like or not, subscribe to the channel. There'll be more videos. Hit that notification bell. And you done know. We're going to catch you on the next one. Peace.
I want you to listen very, very carefully.
Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. bondage and chains. Bury our culture and change our names. They claim we're free, yet we are in pain. As long as there's life, there's a lot to gain. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praise. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praise. When God spoke his words, they said he was deranged. Marley sung his songs, they said the same. Malcolm X and Martin Luther fought relentlessly so we could be better. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praise. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praise. Brought us from the motherland in bondage and chains. Bury our culture and change our names. They claim we're free, yet we are in pain. As long as there's life, there's a lot to gain. Just because we're black,